She banged on my garage door like it owed her money. "My son wants that Harley," she screamed. "Hand it over before I call the cops." 10 minutes later, red and blue lights flashed across my driveway, and I was being accused of stealing my own damn motorcycle. That was the moment I realized this wasn't a quiet lakeside neighborhood. This was Karen's kingdom, and I had just parked my bike on her throne. My name's Daniel Carter. I'm 38, work for the state attorney's office, and I moved to Clearwater Lake to escape the chaos of city life. I bought this place for the silence, the view, and the freedom of riding my Harley along the empty roads by the water. 2 weeks in, I'd barely met my neighbors, didn't even know there was a homeowners association until the HOA's self-proclaimed queen showed up in a pink bathrobe at sunrise. She stood there with her phone in hand like it was a weapon. Her teenage son was behind her smirking like my Harley already belonged to him. I blinked, wondering if this was some sort of prank. "I'm sorry what I asked." Karen raised her chin. "That motorcycle used to belong to the previous owner's nephew. My son's been waiting for it. Either hand it over or we'll handle it legally." I actually laughed. "Ma'am, I bought this bike." "Cash. Title's in my name." She scoffed, eyes narrowing. "Fake papers don't mean anything here. HOA rules apply to everything on this property. It's community property. HOA. That word hit different. I'd heard about them before, power-hungry neighbors who think they run the world, but I didn't know I'd just moved next door to their president. Her son reached out and brushed his hand against the seat. "Mom, just take it. He can't do anything." I took a breath. "Kid, step away from the bike." Karen's eyes went wide. "Did you just threaten my son?" Before I could even respond, she started dialing. "I'm calling the police." I thought she was bluffing. She wasn't. Within minutes, I was standing there watching her pace around my driveway, shouting into her phone about a violent man and a stolen vehicle. Curtains fluttered from the houses around us. Great. 2 weeks in, and I was the crazy new guy with the stolen Harley. A patrol car pulled up, lights flashing. Karen pointed at me like she was casting a spell. "That's him. Arrest him." The officer walked over calmly. "Sir, we got a report of a stolen Harley." I smiled and handed him my wallet. "You might want to take a look at this." He checked the title, then looked at me again. "Your name, sir?" "Daniel Carter." His eyebrows went up slightly. "Carter. From the state attorney's office." I nodded once. The color drained from Karen's face. The officer turned toward her. "Ma'am, you might want to be careful who you're accusing of theft. Everything checks out. This man owns the motorcycle." Karen stammered, You're lying. I was just trying to enforce HOA rules." "Ma'am," the officer said flatly, "property rights don't fall under HOA regulations. You can't accuse someone of theft without evidence. That's a serious offense." She tried to recover, faking a smile. Well, maybe if he'd followed HOA registration procedures. I cut in, unable to help myself. "Since when do you handle vehicle registration?" "Since the HOA elected me president," she snapped. "Elected," I repeated. "Or self-appointed." She glared, red-faced. "You'll regret disrespecting me." Then she stormed off, dragging her son with her. The officer gave me a sympathetic look. "Keep your security cameras running. Folks like her, they don't back off easy." He was right. That night I checked my cameras before heading to bed just in case. Around midnight, a motion alert popped up. I opened the feed and froze. Karen's son was in my driveway, crouched beside my Harley with a key in his hand. For a few seconds, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Then I slipped outside, quietly hit the porch light, and barked, "Step away from the bike." The kid jumped like he'd seen a ghost. I just wanted to look at it." From the shadows next door came her voice, sharp, venomous. "Don't you yell at my son." She stood there again in that same pink robe, clutching a flashlight like a weapon. "He's checking his property." "His property," I said, stepping closer. "You mean my Harley, the one you both just tried to steal?" She pointed the flashlight right in my face. "You can't prove anything. This is harassment. You're threatening a minor." I smiled, slow and deliberate. "Actually, I can prove it." I turned my phone toward her, showing the live feed of her son caught red-handed. Her jaw tightened. "You can't record minors without permission." "That's illegal." "Not when they're trespassing," I said. "But you already knew that. didn't you?" For a second, everything went silent like the air itself was waiting for something to explode. Then Karen screamed, "That's it. I'm calling the HOA board tomorrow. You're finished here, Carter. We'll evict you ourselves." I gave a small, tired laugh. "You might want to check who actually owns this land before you start making threats." She froze for half a heartbeat. "What do you mean?" "Let's just say the HOA's property lines aren't exactly where you think they are." Her flashlight shook slightly. "You're bluffing." "Guess we'll see." The next morning, there was an orange notice taped to my door. HOA violation breach of community peace. Remove the motorcycle within 24 hours or face legal action. No signature, but that handwriting unmistakably hers. That was the moment I realized this wasn't going to stop. She wasn't just power-hungry, she was obsessed. I spent the next few days on edge, barely sleeping, watching the cameras every night. I even thought about moving. Maybe she'd win if I just walked away. But then I remembered my dad, how he used to say, if you're right, don't back down. The law isn't a weapon, son, it's a shield. So I decided to fight back. I went straight to the county office and requested the property survey maps. When the clerk printed them out, I nearly laughed. Half the HOA's so-called community street actually crossed onto my land, which meant every rule they were enforcing was technically happening on my property. When Karen came storming down my driveway that afternoon waving more papers, I was ready. "You're being fined again, Carter," she said. "Remove that bike or we'll escalate this legally." I held up my folder. "Funny, because it looks like your HOA's been trespassing on my land. These are county records. You might want to call your lawyer. Or the state attorney's office, they already have my report." Her face went pale. "That's not possible." "Oh, it's very possible." 2 days later, police cars rolled into the neighborhood again. Karen stood on her porch, arms crossed, that smug grin plastered on her face. Finally, she said loudly, "You're here to arrest him, right?" But the officers didn't come to my door. They walked straight past my driveway toward hers. One of them knocked firmly. "Mrs. Miller." She frowned. "Yes." "Ma'am, we have a warrant for your arrest. Charges include harassment, trespassing, and filing false police reports." Her voice broke. "You can't do this. I am the HOA." The lead officer didn't even flinch. "Not anymore, ma'am." Neighbors stood outside, silent, watching the self-proclaimed queen being led to the squad car. Her son hovered in the doorway, pale and shaking. As they drove away, I looked at my Harley gleaming under the sun, the chrome reflecting the quiet lake behind it. For the first time since moving here, the neighborhood was silent, peaceful. I leaned on the porch rail, exhaling slowly. "Funny thing about power," I muttered to myself. "It only works until someone knows the law better." And that's how the loudest HOA in town went silent, one pink robe and one Harley at a time. Lesson learned. Never mistake arrogance for authority, because the law doesn't care who you think you are.